Hi guys, this is Jack, and today we're going to be talking about the Best Animated Feature category for this current award season. Right now, I have a concrete top 10 of animated features that I personally think that are going to be nominated for the Best Animated Feature category. 5 of them, which I think are complete toss-ups because of the current state of the animation world right now. And I say that kind of like wholeheartedly because we're kind of like in a weird spot with a lot of the films that are coming out that are animated, and it seems like this whole season as far as like animated films have been kind of middling or just straight up disappointing. So I'm going to go deep into some of the 10 movies that I think are potential animated feature nominees. So let's kind of like get started with the first movie that I have on my list, which is Zootopia 2. So starting at number 10, I have Zootopia 2. Main reason is because this film is just like right up in center as far as animated films go. The first film did pretty damn well the last time around, and I feel like the second one might do about the same. The only thing that I personally am objecting is, the sequelitis status of any, animated feature that comes into the animated feature lists, especially the short lists. But again, I don't really see, any objections to Zootopia 2 personally. I think the first movie is pretty damn good, and I hope the second one is even better than the first one. I do think that Disney is kind of like at a low right now as far as animated films, but that's just me. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other Disney movies that are, a part of this list, but Zootopia 2 at number 1 it's pretty tameable, it's pretty, predictable, and I think it's a solid pick for the number 1 slot. Then we get to number 2, which is K-Pop Demon Hunters, which I saw a couple weeks ago on Netflix, and I actually really enjoyed it. I really liked the animation. I think it's like the same animated style as Spider-Verse, so right from the top, you can tell right away while watching the movie that the animation is very top-notch. And the music itself is also really interesting. It has a lot of like K-pop sounds, hip-hop, EDM, normal pop that you usually, hear on the radio. But I think K-Pop Demon Hunters is a pretty solid choice for, this list, while also at the same time, I think it has a solid chance to win because of how big the movie was on Netflix and how people are watching it now, and it's widely, available for, consumption. I think the downside might be maybe, the Academy members don't really like K-pop, but I highly doubt that. I think the overall narrative behind this film is pretty solid, and it has a really good chance to, get also the Best Original Song category with one of the songs in the film. So I think that's actually a really good choice for it to be here. At number 3, I have Ni Xia 2, which is a Chinese animated film that came out earlier this year. Broke a lot of like box office records. I think it got like at least $2 or $3 billion if I remember correctly. But I did watch this movie back in January, or I think it was like January or February, around that time. And man, that movie was just, it was a really good one. And this is coming from someone who did watch the first movie, and I thought it was like fine. The first one was pretty much kind of like a ripoff of Kung Fu Panda, which is kind of crazy because Kung Fu Panda is like a ripoff of other Chinese films. But the second film, Ni Xia 2, is a step up from, the first movie. It has better animation. The fight sequences are like way, way, way more streamlined and way more brutal than the first film. And on top of that, I think the mythology is more richer compared to the first film. One of the major things that is keeping this film together as a whole, as far as the Best Animated Feature category, is A24 picked up the American English dub rights for this film, and Michelle Yeoh is playing the main character, and that could like definitely help with its chances of getting that nomination. The only downside is this is a sequel to a movie that nobody has seen, like general wise, and just like mostly in the Academy, aside, the Chinese members of the Academy. But I think A24 is playing a really interesting game with this film. It really depends on how well they're going to actually market this film to a wider audience, especially American audiences. But I can actually see this, taking the cake for the best animated feature list in the top 5. So at number 4, I have Arco, which is an animated film that premiered at Cannes earlier this year. And it's being produced by Natalie Portman. I don't know too much about this film, but it's about a 10-year-old boy who lives in the future and has a rainbow that can accidentally time travel to, the past. And that's the only thing that I know about this film. And I only know that Neon is producing this film, distributing it, and Natalie Portman is part of the production team. But I hope it works out. I've seen some of the stills. It looks really interesting. It could be, kind of like Flow last year, where that premiered at Cannes, and it did eventually win the best animated feature last year. So I think it could work out. And then number 5, I have Elio, which is the Disney film that came out a couple weeks ago, which kind of flopped critically and financially. But the reason why I have this on my list is just to fill out the slots, and also at the same time, Disney has a higher attention rate compared to other animated studios. And honestly, I think, the kids are gonna fuck with it on Disney Plus when it comes out on Disney Plus. So you wouldn't, tell or matter depending on the film kind of appearing out of nowhere, which I could definitely see, it happening. And then at number 6, I have A Magnificent Life, which quite frankly, I don't know too much about, but I do think it has a really interesting shot. Honestly, the director of this film, he directed a really great animated film from a couple years ago that I actually finally caught, called The Triplets of Belleville. And that animated film was really, really, really interesting, and it played a lot with rotoscoping and 2D, 3D animation. And it seems like A Magnificent Life is doing the same thing, but this time around it's about a playwright, novelist, and a filmmaker person who is going through his life in the 30s and 50s. But it really depends if it takes off and if somebody is distributing it in America, because I think this is a Canadian-French film from what I'm seeing on Letterboxd, according to Letterboxd, but we'll see about that. And then number 7, I have The Bad Guys 2, which literally came out last week. I didn't do a review for it, but I heard some good things about it from other people before I saw the movie, and then I watched it and I was just like, yeah, this is fine. It's compared to the first film. It's kind of about the same. But even then, I think The Bad Guys 2, it really depends. If the Academy wants to, nominate a movie that they didn't nominate the last time around, the first one, if I remember correctly. Let me double check before, I get sniped in the comments. But I do remember the first one not getting nominated for Best Animated Feature. So I think you could, scratch that off if you really want to say something about that. And it didn't. The first one did not get the, animated nomination a couple years ago, but this is just a time and slot filler movie. And then the last 3 are also time and slot fillers, mainly because one completely flopped at the respective animated festival that it premiered at, and that is Animal Farm, which is a animated film about the famous book Animal Farm. And I remember reading that book a long time ago when I was a kid, and it really spooks me out because it's happening in real life, some of the stuff that these animals have done. But it did premiere at the ANC International Animation Film Festival back in June, and it was critically panned. This is Andy Serkis's animated film, his long-gated animated film that he's been trying to make for the past couple of years, and it seems like it's not doing well. It didn't do pretty well at the ANC International Animation Film Festival. A lot of A's. But I think strangely enough, this cast list is really interesting. You have Seth Rogen, who's playing the main character, who is a boar. And you have Gat Marizo, who is on Stranger Things, who plays Lucky. You have Kieran Culkin, who is a boar. You have Glenn Close, Steve Buscemi, Laverne Cox, Woody Harrelson, Jim Parsons, Kathleen Turner, Iman Vellani, and Andy Serkis himself. There's a lot of people here, and it's going to be like really interesting to kind of see for myself if this film is actually really, really good. Because the reviews coming out of the Annecy International Animation Film Festival has been kind of mixed. Some people really enjoy it. Some other people are, lukewarm about it. But I'm just, kind of like in awe and shock and kind of like bewildered as far as Andy Serkis trying to make a film about, George Orwell's famous book. But it seems like from what I've been hearing is that the source material is basically turned into a fart joke. But again, I digress. Hopefully it's a good movie. And then at number 9, I have Scarlet, which is a Hosoda film from this year. And also at the same time, Hosoda, he did some other great movies. If I remember correctly, he did do Belle, which was a really interesting film from a couple years ago, if I remember correctly. Yes, he did do Belle, which I actually kind of enjoyed. And he also did The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Mirai, The Boy and the Beast, Wolf Children, Summer Wars. He's been a really prolific animator in the, Japanese animation field. And the reason why I have this at number 9 is because I think Belle, last time around, it was kind of, talked about as a contender. But I think since the, list that I have here is pretty fucking weak, I think Scarlet has a really good chance to, take off. And then number 10, I have Little Amelie, or the character of Rain. And I don't know anything about this. I don't know what it is. I don't know which country this film is, contending with. But I do think it being a part of the awards contender app is, really interesting. And I think some people are saying that it might have a chance for, the nomination. But again, I'm coming from someone who is trying to figure out which one is going to, really hit the spot here. Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, it is coming from France. So it seems like A Magnificent Life and Little Amelie are both going to, contend for the French nomination for the animated feature list. So I don't know. I really don't know. But this is kind of like a little impromptu video of my picks for animated feature. If I want to go super deep more into K-pop Demon Hunters, I really enjoyed the best songs in the film. A lot of them are really heavy hitters. A lot of them don't miss, and they're just a lot of great bangers on the soundtrack. And then as far as Nisha 2, I again really enjoyed the film. It really hit the spot with me as far as movies about, a spiritual character who's going through a journey. And I think Nisha 2, will resonate a lot with American audiences, especially those who haven't seen the first one. I think the opening of the second film does recap a lot of the stuff that happens in, the first film. So you don't have to worry about, missing out some of the stuff that you missed from the first film. And again, A24 is handling the English dub, and Michelle Yeoh is doing the main character dub for the movie. So that definitely is a plus for Nisha 2. And again, Arco, that Natalie Portman production credit is going to help it a lot with your overall, narrative. And finally, Elio, I think, again, it really depends on how well it hits on Disney Plus. If it's, flopping on Disney Plus, then, you won't see it anywhere else. But I think Elio has a really good shot at number 5. Number 6, A Magnificent Life. Again, the Triplets of Belleville. I saw that film a couple months ago and I really enjoyed it. And I think A Magnificent Life has a really solid chance of the nomination here. Although I do think the reviews out of Cannes has been kind of mixed with it. So I don't know. And then The Bad Guys 2 at number 7. Again, it really depends on how terrible the nominations go as far as animated films. But I just put it here just because, and this is coming from someone who has seen both films, and the first one didn't get nominated, so maybe they're just fuck it. Number 8, Animal Farm. Andy Serkis's big animated film flopped at that animation film festival, so this is just a placeholder. Same with Scarlet at number 9, and number 10, A Little Amelie, or the character of Rain. these last 3 films are just like placeholders. And you know what? I think that's basically it. This is kind of like a crazy, video that I have to pick apart because it's just something that has been rattling in my mind lately. And this is actually the first video that I'm shooting with my new camera. So hopefully this kind of like works out in the end. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this little crazy video. I will be reviewing Weapons this week and another movie eventually on the channel. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you guys, peace out. I will be at TIFF in September, so keep an eye out on the channel as I, start to populate the reviews for some of the stuff that are premiering at Cannes that are coming to TIFF. So yeah, thank you guys. Peace out.